Hey guys, welcome back. We are in Unit 2, finishing it out. 2.8, 2.9, I think, are the two unit topics, but the last two. And so what we want to look at here is we want to look at what happens if the government gets involved and there's a tax. And then we're going to look at what happens if we're on the international level and we have a world price instead of just our domestic price. So those are two things we're going to look at. But first we're going to look at what happens if there's a tax, okay? And so we're looking at a per unit tax. And so what we've got here is before the tax, we should be able to find the equilibrium price, the equilibrium quantity, and then we should be able to find the consumer surplus, the producer surplus, and the deadweight loss, okay? After the tax, we should be able to find how much was the tax, how much did the government make off of the tax, what was our equilibrium price and quantity, what was our consumer surplus, our producer surplus, and our deadweight loss. This should be easy. Let's do it together here. Okay, so this is our original. We know that because it's a tax, so our supply is going to go down, right? And we've got our demand curve right here. And so what we should be able to do first off, the easiest things, what's our equilibrium price? Well, right here is our equilibrium. We go straight across, our equilibrium price, 25. Easy done. What's our equilibrium quantity? We do the same thing. We drop straight down. We can see it's 4. Okay, everybody with me? Here we go. So now we want to go with consumer surplus. Remember, the consumer surplus is going to be how much less did we pay than we were willing to pay. Now remember, our demand curve is showing us what we are willing and able to pay at all of these prices, right? So that means this person's willing and able to pay this much, this much, this much, this much, okay? So that's what we're looking at here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from our equilibrium point, come across to our y-axis, come up to our demand curve. That triangle right there, all of that whole triangle, the area of that triangle is going to tell us what our consumer surplus is. So we see 25 to 50 is 25 times 4 is 100 divided by 2 is 50. Okay, and again, what did we do there? The base, 4, times the height, 25, 4 times 25, divided by 2. Base times height divided by 2, that's our area of a triangle, right? So 50, okay? Now, we want to find the producer surplus. Well, we're going to do the same thing here, okay? So 25 is our, we got to finish that supply curve there in order to do this, don't we? So let's do that. All right, there we go. Okay. So we're going 25 and 4. Okay. We're back at 100 again. Divide by 2, 50. What's our deadweight loss? We don't have any because we are, this is prior to the tax. And so we are at an efficient level. So there's no deadweight loss. Let's take a look at what happens when we have this one instead, okay? So this one, we're gonna shift it in. So the first thing we wanna know is how much is that tax? Now remember, to find that tax, we're not gonna do this distance, okay? So it's not 10, okay? Instead, we wanna find the vertical distance. So how far is it from here to here? We see we're at 15 here, we're at 35 there. Our tax is 20, okay? And so that's the first thing we can do. Next thing we can do is we can do our equilibrium price, 35. We can do our equilibrium quantity. Straight down, 2.5. Okay? All right. Now, the next thing we can do is we want to find our consumer surplus. Our consumer surplus, we're going to do the exact same way that we did before. We're going to come across, go up, back down. So this triangle right there, that's going to be our consumer surplus. Well, how much is that? 2.5 times 15. I can't do that one in my head. 2.5 times 15 is 37.5 divided by 2, 18.75. What do we notice? Well, first off, it was 50, now it's 18.75. Big difference, right? Okay, and so what we should notice is when we have that tax, consumers are hurt. Okay, let's take a look at what's going to happen down here. We're going to go from here now, right? Okay, so we're at 15 times 2.5. Okay, we're gonna get that same 18.75, right? We were at 50, we're at 18.75. So with that tax, producers are also hurt, okay? Okay, now let's go ahead and check this out. What's left here, this box, that is our revenue for the government, okay? That's our tax revenue. So how much is that? Well, we know it's 2.5, okay, times 20. 2.5 times 20 is gonna be 50, right? Okay, and so that now, we've been able to do everything in this problem, okay? We were able to find everything here, then we were able to find everything right here. The last thing that we need then is our deadweight loss. Our deadweight loss, remember, is going to be what did we lose when we had that tax? We could have produced all of that, right? But now we're not doing that because we are over here. That's what we're giving up. That's what could have been produced, but is not because of that tax. So our deadweight loss is going to be this, which is 1.5 times this, which is 20. So that's going to be 20 times 1.5 is going to be 30, divided by 2. 15 is our deadweight loss. Okay, so that's how we're going to do all of this stuff. So remember, if you could just remember what each of these things are, you're going to be able to remember where they're at here. Now, the other thing to remember, they may not give you numbers. Okay, they may give you letters here. And so you'd say, well, the deadweight loss is A to B to X or something like that, that area, okay? So it might be something that they do for a multiple choice question rather than making you do the math. Okay, so just be ready to do that. Make sure you know where everything is at on the graph, okay? Awesome, let's go ahead and move over. We're gonna move that way. And so let's go ahead and get set up. Come with me, come with me, come with me. We're in my classroom here. Come on over here. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna be looking at international trade. Okay, so when we're looking at international trade, trying to get the whole graph in there we go, I think we got it. Okay, when we're looking at international trade, we have a ton of different stuff that we can see. First, we have what's going to happen domestically. So this is going to be nice and easy. This is what we already know, okay? So when we find our demand curve, we've got our supply curve, our our price is going to be 40. So our equilibrium price, 40. Okay, what's our equilibrium quantity? Straight down, 3. What's our consumer surplus? Well, we can see that straight across here is 3. Straight up to there is 30. 3 times 30 is 90. Divided by 2, 45. And in our producer surplus, we do the same thing here. We're at 40, so this is 40. To 3 is 40 times 3 would be 120. Divided by 2, 60. Domestic, super easy. We just did it over there with the tax stuff, right? But now we want to look at what happens if we have a world price. So now somebody's importing something, okay? So let's say we're making headphones, and so this is what we can do within the United States. Well, now Chile or Peru or China, somebody else is importing, so they're exporting from them, importing to us headphones. Well, now we can do that. It's going to be cheaper, okay? So here's our new price, okay? This is our world price down here. Okay, so our world price is going to be $20. Okay, so now what happens? Well, if we look here, if we come straight across, that number right there, when we hit our supply curve, that is going to be how much our producers within the United States are willing and able to produce at that price. So our domestically produced, we're going to produce 2. Okay. Well, how many are we going to produce? How many are we going to import? We come all the way over here. And so we got a total of 5. 2 of them are made in the United States. We know 3 are made outside the United States. So that's how much we are importing. Okay. Now, we want to look at what is our consumer surplus. Okay. The consumer surplus is everything above the the price here. And so if we look here, we come straight across, we're here, all the way up to there, all the way down to there. So that's 20 to 70 is 50, times 5 is 250. That's going to be 125. Now take a look. Consumers absolutely gain when there is that world price, right? Consumers are winning big time here. Okay, but let's look at the other side of this. What happens to our producers? We go from 0 to 20, and they're only at 2. So that's 40 divided by 2. That's only 20. Producers are losing out big time. And so what's going to eventually happen is some of these workers are going to be out of business. Okay? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing for consumers? Depends on if it's your job, right? Okay? And so now we've got to look at this. Is this worth it? Well, maybe the United States government looks at it and says, this is a major industry. This is steel. This is something like that it employs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. And now they're all laid off. So let's put a tariff on this to make it so that they can't sell it for quite as much in this country. And so they're going to put this tariff in right here. Okay, so this is our tariff price. Our tariff price now, we're going to charge everybody domestically how much they're bringing into our country. We're going to charge them $10 per unit. Okay, and so our domestic now, how much are we going to make? Because we're going to be selling them for $30 now instead of $20. Our domestic, we're now going to be making, a 2.5 there. And then we're going to import from here to here. So 1.5 to 4.5 would be 2. Okay, so we were making 2. Now we're making 2.5 in our country. We were importing 3. Now we're only importing 2, right? So things have changed a little bit. So now, if we do our consumer surplus and our producer surplus, let's take a look at what happens. Now we're at 4.5 times 40. 4.5 times 40. I should be able to do that in my head, but let's make sure that I get it right. That's going to be 180 divided by 2 is 90. So, if we look at this, we're worse off than we were with no tariff, right? 125 to 90. But we're still better off than we were at just having the domestic price, right? Where it was 45. So consumers losing out from here, gaining from here, right? Okay, so let's take a look at what's going to happen to our producers. They're going to be at here, at the 30 to 2.5, right? 30 times 2.5 is going to be 55, right? 75, how about? And then we divide that by 2, we're going to have 37.5. So let's compare that. They were at 20 when we were doing international trade. Now we're at 37.5. We originally were at 60, 37.5. So they're losing out here. They would still rather it just be domestically produced, but they're happier than they were when it was just international, because now we're going to put some people back to work, right? Okay, so that's everything that we want to look at there. Now, the new stuff is our tariff revenue and our deadweight loss. Tariff revenue, how much is the government taking in now? So we said 2.5 to 4.5, right? Okay, that's 2 times 10. So this box right here is our tariff revenue. That's how much the government's taking in. 2 times 10 is going to be 20. Okay? And then what's our deadweight loss? Well, the things that we're losing out on is we used to produce this. Let me change the color here so we can see it a little better. We used to produce this, and we used to produce that, right? We're not doing that anymore. We stopped doing that, okay? And so what we lost then was this 0.5 times 10, which would be 5, divided by 2 is 2.5. And we do the same thing over here. And so we're going to find out our deadweight loss is 5, because we're going to add those two triangles together, okay? So that's everything that we see here. And so what we're looking at again is keeping track of, are we talking domestic? Are we talking international? Are we talking about with the tariff? Okay, those are the 3 things that we care about here. which one are we dealing with? We need to keep our equilibrium price and our equilibrium quantities straight where we are for each of these, okay? Where are we going to operate? Whereas our country feel like they should be producing, that's our supply curve, right? Where does our country feel like we should be buying? That's our domestic, our demand curve, okay? Keep those things straight and then be able to find these. Remember that 1/2 the base times the height is what we're going to use for almost everything for this, as well as our tax graphs, okay? So that ends Unit 2, my friends. We're going to pick up Unit 3 here. Hopefully I'll be getting that posted in a day or two. We're just a couple weeks from the exam. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and remember to do something for someone else today. See you soon.